That'll work. How's that? Better?
That's good.
I'm going to scoot it back a little bit so it's a little more stable.
How's that?
Is that good?
Great minds think alike.
We're going to call our meeting to order. Today is Tuesday, February 27th, 2024, 6 p.m. We're in the Public Works Building. We're going to stand for invocation, followed by the pledge of allegiance.
Father, we thank you so much for your blessing. Come to you tonight, ask you to be with us. Your spirit will guide us. Everything we do will be pleasing to you. We thank you for your blessing. Thank you for your love. And we ask you to just be with us. Be patient with us and guide us so that we pray in Christ's name.
Amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Start. Call the roll, please.
Mayor Miller?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Ms. Hamilton?
Here.
Mr. Welly?
Here.
Mr. Wolf?
Okay. So the first thing is our consent agenda for January 23rd and February 13th. Do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as is?
I'll make a motion to accept the consent agenda as is.
Second.
Any nays? Okay, that's unanimous to accept your agenda. We have a scheduled appearance of the NELA project presentation, Dana, from Atkins Realize.
Good evening. So I don't know if you'll have a copy. I put together a slideshow, but unfortunately, I'm not sure what I'm putting you on the spot, really.
It's all good. I was trying to make sure that was going.
So I'm just going to give a quick update on our FEMA public assistance grants and some of the other grants that Atkins Realize specifically is helping the city manage. Obviously, the first one that I've heard about a lot is the pier. So this project is currently under environmental review. We've seen some movement over the past few months. The current estimated cost is $7 million. This project has not been obligated. That's FEMA's estimate. The recent activity we've had for this one is environmental EHP review of the environmental assessment that was turned in to FEMA, I believe, back in October by Baskerville Donovan. They've started that review and we've been receiving some questions, so that's a good sign that they're moving forward with it. FEMA also has agreed over the past few months to revise the costs. Currently, they're estimating $7 million, which our engineer feels is too low. So FEMA has agreed to revise the costs based on actual costs, which is good news. That'll get us closer to where we think it should be. And then most recently, we had a meeting with the engineer as well as the state last week, Chris and myself, to talk through how to bid this project out to establish those actual costs for FEMA to revise the obligated costs. We also had a meeting with EHP as early as today to talk through some of their questions as they go through their environmental reviews. So that's kind of a rough overview of where we are with the pier. I can pause if anyone has specific questions on this project.
So what do you feel like might be the city's cost out of this in the end?
So
Adjustments.
I believe the most recent estimate from Baskerville Donovan, the design engineer, was around $9.5+ million. But that cost continues to go up, right? The further we get out from when that estimate was prepared. So we are hopeful that FEMA will do what they're saying and revise that 7 million once we put it out for bid and get competitive bid costs that reflect currently where the cost is. So I can't say for sure, where those bids will come in. The estimate of 9.5 million plus or minus was actually a couple of years ago from Baskerville Donovan. So I expect that it has gone up since then.
So there will be, whatever FEMA caps us at, there'll be a cost to the city for the difference. And I know you and I had talked about,
There could be,
there
yes.
could be, and I'm thinking millions and you're thinking thousands, which I like your thinking.
Yeah, no promises. But certainly getting FEMA to revise costs based on those bids gets us much, much closer. So there is that potential, yeah, depending on how long it takes to get permits from when it's bid, et cetera, that the city may have to pay out of pocket for that CAP project if it turns out it's higher than that. Any other questions?
People will always ask, when do you think it'll be complete?
Yeah, that's the 9.5 million dollar question. So, unfortunately, the city doesn't have any control over FEMA's reviews, and environmental review takes a certain amount of time by federal statute. So, where we are right now is FEMA's environmental group is reviewing the pier. We've turned in the application to the Army Corps of Engineers and DEP. DEP has issued a permit. The Army Corps of Engineers cannot proceed until FEMA's environmental review is complete. And as part of that, there's multiple federal organizations that they're reaching out to see if there are any concerns. So, and then once that process is done, it has to be publicly advertised for a certain amount of time, et cetera. So it is a lengthy process to get through environmental review, but we are starting to see movement. We're starting to get questions, which is all very encouraging that process is happening.
So realistically, are we thinking like 2 years? something like that?
Well, I do know that Baskerville Donovan expects once the Army Corps of Engineers starts reviewing the permit, it could take 18 months to issue the permit. And we certainly can't start until we have a permit.
Oh, several years.
Exactly.
I was sure hoping like 2025, 2026.
It's a long time coming. Any other questions on the pier?
I have a question. If the FEMA grant money, say it's too much money, we don't want to do this, we're only going to give you 7 million. But you got to go back and redesign it, does it have to go back, if I said make it smaller, does it have to go back through this whole, the whole process again, or just downsizing it, is that what you do?
That's a hard question. So if you downsize it, it does any change from the scope that FEMA environmental reviews and approves right now does require to go back through that process. If you're not going bigger though, theoretically that process moves faster because you're having less impacts, not more. But yes, technically it would have to go back through review.
So we did do that a couple times already, right?
No, this is the first time it's been through environmental review.
Through that, but it had been cycling through some other.
It had been
reviews.
cycling through what they call I call it the technical group. It's like FEMA's engineers consolidated. They call it the CRC. And they write the scope and estimate the cost. And that has gone round and round. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So the next outstanding project in terms of obligation are the jetty repairs and replacement. This one is also an environmental review, but it's much further along in the process. Current estimated FEMA cost is 1.9 million. This one, though, will be based on actuals. It's not a question because it's a standard, what FEMA calls a standard project. So once we bid this out, if the bids come in at 3 million, FEMA, as long as we can show we competitively procured it, and the city does a process to say, yes, we think this is a reasonable cost, FEMA will adjust that cost amount. So it's a little bit different from the pier in that sense. I don't know if anyone noticed, there was a public posting for this project. It went out on January 30th. It's still out there. and it's expected to close on March 6th, which is one of those final steps in environmental review. FEMA wants public comment if there are any, so that closes March 6th. And we do have from FEMA an anticipated schedule date that this will leave environmental on March 22nd of this year and then move forward to obligations. So according to their schedule, we're very close. Any questions on this one? No? Okay, and then the last outstanding project we have that is not yet obligated is the municipal complex. This one is still in a previous step from the other two we just discussed. It is in that technical review group, the CRC, for cost and scope development. The current cost that FEMA's estimated is $3.3 million for this project. Recent activity, they are performing a benefit cost analysis for us to relocate to the property that the city now owns for the municipal complex. And we are hoping over the next few months, the next step would be that this project moves to Region 4 headquarters, so kind of overarching where it is now in terms of FEMA, to make a final decision on whether they will consider this a forced relocation to move the complex. And we are hopeful they'll side with the city. The state supports us on that effort and agrees that it should be. Yes.
And that's what we're waiting on the fire department for, is for that relocation before we can touch that building.
Yep. So any questions on that one? And then in terms of all of the other projects the city has currently with FEMA, these were the only three that we're still waiting on obligations. The other, 46 projects are in different stages of reimbursement, and that's kind of an ongoing process. We have a few projects that we're in the process of closing out, meaning they've been fully reimbursed, and FEMA and the state have finished their closeout reviews, and they're pretty much done. So those are in varying stages, but did want to touch on the other recovery grants related to Hurricane Michael that Atkins Realis is responsible for assisting the city to manage. So that is the table you're looking at. The HMGP, we have 3 hazard mitigation grant projects. The regional stormwater phase 1 is currently underway, so that's been awarded, and we are working through phase 1. There is additional funding that has been basically pledged by the state and FEMA that if we are able to move to phase 2 would then become available, but they won't issue the award until we complete phase 1, which is design, and then we submit that to FEMA for review. And if they approve of the project in general for construction, we move to phase 2, and they'll issue that other, I think it's $8.8 million. The sewer bypass pumps, that one is currently underway. We have requested a cost amendment for that because the bids came in higher than the grant amount, and that is currently pending with FEMA and the state to approve. Our municipal complex Code Plus, which is basically hardening and includes a safe room, is currently on hold until we get the police fire municipal complex obligated through FEMA to avoid any kind of duplication of funding. So we need to know where that lands and what's not covered there so that then this grant can kick in. We have 2 grants from NIFWIF. We have a marine debris removal project in the amount of roughly $400,000. That one, the first piece, the survey, has been complete, and we expect to put out an RFP for the actual activity of removing debris by March 1st, so this week. Hopefully that'll go out this week. And then we have another grant, a wetland restoration grant for NIFWIF in the amount of $335,000. This is for restoring wetlands on the property that the city has purchased from St. Joe where the regional detention will go. We have bid this project multiple times and we don't have any interested bidders. So we're trying to figure out a path for implementing that project, and we have had some conversations with the same folks that are designing the regional detention to see if they can put us in the right direction to maybe put that project into theirs so it's a larger, more attractive bid. We had the RIG grant on the canal, which is completed and reimbursed in the amount of $23,000. That was for vegetation along the 8th Street Canal. There is a FERDAP grant for Under the Palms in the amount of $50,000 that is in process. I believe Dewberry secured that grant for the city, but then since Dewberry is no longer under contract, we're kind of helping with that. But that may be passed on to your new engineer to manage. I think that's still something that's up in the air, but it's out there. And then our FWC boat ramp expansion, we did get an amended grant award based on the bids. Chris has been working with them on that, and we're waiting on the combined award amount. So that's why it doesn't have a dollar amount yet. Thank you.
We've been asked if Mr. Wallenhead can present about gumbo. Is he here?
Yes, he's here.
Hold up, Rose. We're just gonna take a little break in our regular agenda.
I'll be quick. My name is Wiley Petty. I'm the manager of the El Governor Beach Resort, but here tonight as a member of the Special Events Committee for Mexico Beach. I don't know if everybody knows, but Special Events is the committee of volunteers that raises money so that Mexico Beach can afford a July 4th fireworks show. And I think it's a pretty good one. And the committee is made up of all volunteers. Our biggest fundraiser is the Gumbo Cook-Off, which we just held on the 17th. If you went, you know it rained all day long. But I'm happy to report that the numbers are good, and it looks like it just may be our best one yet. So, which is a testament of how much people really love Mexico Beach. Because, I mean, to brave the weather and the rain to come and support the Gumbo Cook-Off was really great. And we could not have done it without the city's help. I have never felt so supported by the city as I did this year at the Gumbo Cook-Off. From setup to breakdown, everybody showed up willing to help in great attitudes and eagerness, and it did not go unrecognized. So Randy did a great job. He was fantastic. He was there from the beginning to the end. Tommy, Cindy with the fire department, and Marty with the sheriff's department of Bay County. Without all the help that the city provided in the sheriff's department, it would not have been as successful as it was. So I just wanted to come and report that good news. So we appreciate the city's help, and of course, all the locals that come and support your city. It's great to have a 4th of July fireworks show, as small as we are and as great as it is. So thanks to everybody. We appreciate the help and support.
Thank you. Thank y'all for letting us take a little break in our regular agenda to hear from Mr. Petty. Okay, next is ordinance 834, amend ordinance 540, Mexico Beach Shopping Center. This is our second read. Do I have a motion to read ordinance 834 by title only?
I'll make the motion to read ordinance 834 by title only.
I'll second it.
Mr. Welly,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes.
Ordinance 834. An ordinance amending ordinance number 540, section 3, subsection 2, allowing development of previously undeveloped lots in the Mexico Beach Shopping Center, providing for incorporation, conflict, and severability, and providing for an effective date.
We'll open it to public discussion. Any questions or comments on the shopping center expansion lots? Okay. We'll close that. Any discussion at the table? Good. All right, we'll entertain a motion for denial of approval for ordinance 834.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 834.
Second.
Okay. Motion and a second for ordinance 834 approval. Hamilton, call for it.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Welly,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton.
Yes.
Next, other business is a task order amendment for Dewberry from FEMA jetty project, Chris?
Mayor and council, this was discussed at the last meeting. We had done an original task order with Dewberry to complete the environmental assessment for the jetty project. However, the Army Corps of Engineers has come back and said that they need some additional work performed that was not completed under the initial task order. Dewberry submitted this contract to us since we had the open-ended contract on the first task order. There was some concern at the last meeting that with Dewberry not being our current engineer of record, whether or not FEMA would reimburse this project. And the council had stated a desire at that time for Dina Boltinski to maybe come here and speak in regards to FEMA reimbursing the project. So she's here for that. One of the things that we're doing right now is we're also working with the Army Corps of Engineers to make sure that Dewberry can either do this project or whether we need to turn it over to the new engineering company. And that's something that we haven't received a response on yet, but we are actively working on that issue.
Do you have any information you want to share?
No, I mean, Chris summarized it pretty well. So, we're waiting to hear, the state has the contract and the task order and they're reviewing it. From a FEMA perspective, they pretty much said they consider this reimbursable work. It's for the environmental assessment. But the concern is, because the contract is expired, is there a mechanism to continue to amend the task order and allow them to do the work? So that was the question put forward. Chris and I coordinated with the state. We got word today from legal that they're still reviewing that, but we're hopeful we'll have an answer and then we'll come up with a plan based on what they say on whether it will be an amendment under Dewberry or if there's another path that needs to be done to get it complete.
Is it something that we should table and bring it back when we have it labeled?
Well, the project has to be completed if we're going to do the jetty project. So what I was hoping that the council would do would be to approve the project, and then Dina and I would work together, like we have been, to determine, whether or not we can, Dewberry can complete it, or if we just need to turn it over to Elizabeth Horn and Anchor CEI to have them do it. And then obviously, we can come back later and let the council know what the cost is going to be, if there's going to be any cost difference, if we have to give it to the new engineering company. But we would seek approval tonight just to keep this ball rolling and get everything moving forward, because it's already such a time-consuming process when you're dealing with Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, I was looking at the, obviously what you talked about, that being approved and everything, and moving fairly quickly through that stage. I don't think we want to hold it up anymore.
So I would think that if we move forward, we didn't necessarily say that we're going to do Dewberry, because we don't know that we can do Dewberry. So we can't approve on Dewberry and then come back with Elizabeth. We have to leave that kind of open.
Yeah, just say approve the project, and
What up to this amount of money, and then if it is more that's not going to be covered by FEMA, we would know.
So would that be an approval of the task order amendment for the FEMA jetty project without a name?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I agree from FEMA's perspective, it has to be, it needs to be done, it's a reimbursable activity, it's just a matter of under which contract. Yeah, based on what the state tells us from their review.
We could pull forward with that, I believe, yeah.
And our risk is a $16,000 decision, because we're getting $2 million worth of jetty, so we had to pay 16 for $2 million.
It's an extra 16.
Exactly.
It's 30, yeah. Okay, so let me just, open public discussion. Anyone have any questions, concerns, or comments on this? Okay, we'll close that. And, there any more discussion at the table? Okay, and I'll open for a motion for approval or denial of the task order.
I'll make a motion to approve the task order amendment for the FEMA jetty project in the amount of $16,500.
Second. Okay, I'll roll.
Mr. Welly?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
once we find out an answer, I'll inform the city council of how we're moving forward on this.
Please, thank you. All right. we have, agreement with Duke Energy installing electric, vehicle charging stations at dwelling stations.
Kimberly Shove, the president of the CDC, has been looking around for a while for a grant to install electric vehicle chargers at the Welcome Center. And she found a program through Duke Energy where Duke Energy will pay 100% of the cost, come in, install the two chargers. It takes up 3 parking spaces because the charger will actually sit in the center parking place. Again, no expense from, to the city, no expense to the CDC. But Kimberly needs our permission to do this project because we actually own the property and own the building there.
Okay. I'll open this up to the public. Any public discussion? Okay, close the public discussion at the table.
I did talk to Kimberly and she did say that the next location, would be Apalachicola, so that's a long stretch, so that kind of justifies the need for it. And I did ask her, was the parking lot lit all night long, and it is. So that would not present a problem, I think that's part of the requirements.
Safety was, I did read that contract in great detail. I think it's, covers us. I don't think there's any issues for, the future of Mexico Beach being impacted by this in a negative way. Mr. Smith, you got anything you want to add to our conversation?
You do it good. We got to have one. I mean, everybody's going to elect, so we don't have one in a pretty good piece.
Everybody feel good about the location?
Yeah, I went down and looked at it. I mean, I think it's fine. They may even be able to go into a possibility.
Two.
7-3.
The full CDC board was in favor of requesting this, so.
All right, so I'll open for a motion for approval or denial of the agreement with Duke Energy to install these vehicle charging stations at the Welcome Center.
I'm gonna make a motion to approve the Duke Energy 2 electric vehicle chargers in Mexico Beach Welcome Center.
I'll second it.
Okay, and call the vote.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes.
Mr. Wolf,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
Yes.
Mr. Riley,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Okay, next on the agenda is a discussion regarding our renewing the city certificate of deposit.
Okay, on the agenda abstract, there is a mistake that I was talking to the bank yesterday in regards to the CDs and the process that we would need to go through in order to renew these. I put that there was 2 CDs that are about to renew. Actually, all 4 of the city CDs are about to renew. Instead of the $1.28 million, it's a little over $3 million that we have in CDs right now. So what I would seek to do is ask the council to approve the city. Once these CDs mature on March the 7th, to roll those CDs into a 3-month CD at 5.16% interest.
Have some thoughts on it?
Yeah.
I did consult with a financial advisor, and his thoughts were that possibly that interest rate will drop in the near future. So that may not be our safest option to go with 3 months. You might want to think in terms of something like 6 months, even though it's slightly less in the percentage. I mean, did we maybe run this past an accountant, one of our accounting people, to get their thoughts on it?
No, I'm going strictly for the highest interest rate. It's a 3-month. If it's a 3-month CD, I mean, I don't think me personally, I don't think that the interest rates are going to drop. So,
Well, but are you talking about all 4 of them? You wouldn't split it up any kind of way to put all 4 of them in 3 months?
I wouldn't. And if the council's concerned about the interest rates, if the interest rates drop between now and whenever they renew on March 7th, we can.
I think something else to consider too is when would we possibly need any of this money from these CDs? That's something to think about too.
Well, 2 of them have been in 1-year-long CDs, so if we put them in 3 months, we obviously have access. But we have cash in the bank in addition to the CDs.
Yeah. And have we considered like money market? Because that's another route we can go. $3 billion is a lot of money. I wonder if maybe we could get some insight from our accounting firm on this to get their opinion as well.
Well, we're not going to have another council meeting between now and March 7th.
Yeah. Is there any reason why we didn't do that already? To consult with the accounting firm? that we hired. I mean, this is
I don't
a
need that
professional opinion, you know, is very valuable. $1 million.
I mean, I can see what's the highest interest rate, so.
But not everybody agrees that that's the best option after speaking to a financial advisor from Wells Fargo.
Well,
So,
the council can decide if they want to split it up.
I'm with 5, so I'm like, in 3 months, you've got to get the money. You don't know what's gonna happen in 4 months, you know that. So I'm with the 3 month, 5.
but previously with these same 4 CDs, we had them, what, was it 12 months and 6 months? Or how do we have them split up? We have them split up.
2 and 2. 2 and 6 months.
2 and 6 months and 2.
1 year.
So why would we want to split again, possibly?
To get a higher interest rate in short time.
Thoughts?
So yeah, this is just very interesting to me that usually the longer it is in, the higher the rate.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a typo and that they were flipped,
Yeah.
because usually the longer you keep the money, the higher your interest rate is. I don't remember when we did the 1 year, but did they do a penalty-free clause if we did need it to cancel? I know in the past they had. I didn't know if it was in this one though. That if we tied it up long term, and we were worried about a natural disaster and being able to access it back then, so we had a penalty-free clause. Do you know if these have that?
I haven't looked into that.
Okay.
Normally,
I think
that's part
that
of it.
Centennial's pretty good one.
Yeah.
And I like the money market idea, but that's even traditionally even worse. So.
The financial advisor that I spoke to also said at 6 months at 4.9, that was a little bit below some of the averages. He was saying they were more like 5.25 and 5.10. So that's a little lower for
Yeah,
6
see if
months.
you see anything, Rich.
I-
We,
I had at Wells Fargo, it was like 5.1 for 7 months. My bank of Wells Fargo.
And I'm like, one of y'all mentioned, usually the longer you keep it in, the better your interest rate is. So I'm
That
curious
tells me-
as to how this,
Well, that tells me they do think interest rates are going to drop because they.
Yeah, the Fed keeps on hitting around and it's gonna drop, but whether or not they can do it with the country being as it is now, I mean, that's another thing.
I think, maybe sitting down with Centennial or having Centennial come in and tell us what's the best way to go.
Yeah.
I mean, other than just roll it over, I understand it's March the 7th, I think.
we can call a special meeting, we could
Well,
on
and you
schedule a
don't-
special meeting with anything.
Yeah, you can pull on March the 7th and redeposit it at any time, so it's not that we.
Right, that'd be a great package. A great spirit. I mean, they're right down the street.
And I wonder if there would be any room for negotiation to possibly go up on that.
No, they definitely would, because they did last time when we first started the second year or two, they were quoting less and we went to Wells Fargo and they were more, so then they matched that.
So I wasn't going to ask that question, but
Yeah.
since we went there, is this their published rate or is this the rate they gave when you call?
I don't think this is the published rate because she had to contact her boss in Panama City in order to get this rate for us.
I would ask that question, see if they can do better.
We'll be meeting back on the 12th, just real, yeah, I personally would like to have a representative come and talk to us about it and give us more information, make sure we're doing the right thing. Do we want to do 2 and 2? Do we want to do?
In 5 days, the interest won't be that much. If you
No.
roll for 5, but
With $3 million,
well,
think about it.
5 days and 3 million.
I can contact Centennial. It's council decision.
So we would have a special meeting, so we could.
We could do a special meeting, or we could do, just be out for 5 days before we put it back in. And 7th to 12th.
They might even give me a grace if you tell me to pull it.
We're talking $3 million.
Kids get down and have a conversation with them.
Alright. Do I have any kind of motion to where we want to go with this?
If we're not gonna renew the CDs, then we need a motion for me to instruct Centennial Bank to put the money, once the CDs mature, into our other account, our bank account. Otherwise, they'll automatically renew the CDs.
Or the other option would be to call a special meeting before that date.
I was gonna say we could call a special. What's council think?
I would rather have the special meeting. So we could still meet the date of 3/7.
Let's see, about meet next Tuesday. That's the 5th.
Tuesday week. Can't make it.
Sixth one, okay. Sixth.
What day is that?
Sixth. Monday the fourth.
Fifth and sixth. I got it.
Monday the fourth.
I'm this week only.
Could Monday the 4th work for everybody?
And then Friday?
This Friday,
The 1st?
the 1st. Afternoon. Morning.
Morning?
Wednesday.
Okay. Or just a minute. I got kids now, I gotta think about these things. First. The doctors. Got,
So would everybody be good on the 4th? Is that the 4th work?
What day?
That's on Monday. You okay?
I'm Tuesday week.
Okay. So the 4th would work for everybody,
Not me.
not for you.
Next week's out for me entirely.
is there any way we can get 3 people together on this board
Fourth?
next week?
That's what you got.
The 4th works for me.
I can do the 4th, but it have to be an evening.
What?
So I work
That's
Thursday.
a Monday.
Lose the 5 days of interest to do it the 12th. Actually,
It's like,
A lot of people.
Well, I'll tell you, somebody's smart guy can figure that out, what, that millions of dollars would be in 5 days. $500 a day.
400. If my maths is right, I did it on some.
What you figure, how much money?
It came up to $410.95. 5%, divided by 365.
Are we okay with Monday the fourth?
I am.
I am.
I'm Tuesday.
If we do it in the evening, I can do it on the 4th.
So what time? That works for everybody.
I get finished at 3 o'clock.
Two.
No, I'll be there. So we want to do it 4th at 9 p.m.
Okay.
So if anybody gets sick, they should.
Will you be able to get the record, don't you have a representative from the bank? They're on that.
We can get a hold of her. So we're calling a special meeting on the 4th at 5 p.m. here. Okay. And somebody had their hand up, they had some questions, sir.
She may have touched on, I couldn't hear her,
Okay.
but if you're doing it to have a bankrupt, you might want to make sure that it's in business hours. I thought that's all.
If we're thinking of Veronica, she has one with me after hours.
Yeah.
I don't think it'd be Veronica, it would be Mandy or Hiram.
I think it'd be Mandy.
Well, you know, we can ask.
So Mr. Hoover, you contact Mandy?
Or whatever representative they want to have.
Yeah. Okay, moving on, next discussion is regarding setbacks at Canal Parkway.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to bring something up which correlates more to the city attorney contract issue on this agenda, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it up right now anyway. I've been the city attorney here for Mexico Beach for 2+ years now. I think my time has run its course. My current contract with the city expires on March 31st, and I want to now formally let the council know that that's going to be, unless you want to terminate me sooner, that will be my last day as the city attorney in Mexico Beach. I'm sorry that I didn't let the council know earlier, but it's a decision I kind of came to just in the last few hours. So that's kind of where it stands. As far as the Canal Parkway issue goes, given that my time here is so short, about a month, I believe it would be in the best interest of Mexico Beach to have the new city attorney give you guidance on that issue.
Okay. We thank you for your service and appreciate you letting us know that you want to terminate the contract.
It's just, my contract's expired.
Well, yeah, excuse me. You don't want to renew with us.
What was the date again of it?
March 31st.
Okay, so with that said,
Before we move on to the next subject, if that's gonna be the case, can we get council motion to go ahead and advertise for new city attorney?
that's what I was getting ready to say.
Is that not number 7?
Yeah, it's coming up.
Okay, so,
Do we want to go to number 7 already?
well, let's do skip number 7, that way we can get the attorney stuff out of the way, and then we can go back to that and do our reviews of the contracts. Okay, so with this, it's RFQ will go out, correct? P. RFP will go out. Do we want to look at any fill-in attorneys just because that has to go out for a number of weeks, right? Is that usually a 4-week RFQs? Or how's that usually work?
I mean, I would say 4 at a minimum, but I mean, I'm not sure. It may end up being like with the engineering company where we have to advertise twice. I'm not sure how many applicants we'll get on the first advertising.
4 weeks would put you to 26th of March.
So, Mr. McCahill, would you like to do a monthly or weekly stay until we get a replacement?
Yeah, I think I could do that. Thank you.
Okay. That sounds good to you guys. Will that way we won't feel rushed to hire. And we'll get as many, we can actually do what we did before with the engineers. We can call some of the attorney's offices and let them know that we have one out there that they might want to go in and look at. Make that list helpful with our engineering.
You look at, just go back and look at who sent something in the last time. It was like 3 or 4.
There were 4. Some of them were very close to the same contractor amount. So that is an option as well. So, okay.
We need a motion to post it.
Let's,
What do we need to do?
well, probably need to give Chris instruction or direction just to post this for RFP. I would like for him to send it to us to read prior to it being posted.
What you had was
Oh, is that?
So,
Is that? Okay. Is there anything y'all want to change in this? I do.
Pretty boilerplate.
Yeah.
Oh, this filter.
If you're looking at the RFP on the first page, item number 2, term and contract, there's a part that I highlighted on there for the council to review. I think the council should consider changing that or eliminating it completely, because I personally feel like that's going to limit the number of attorneys who respond to our RFP.
It's scary to bid a flat rate and not know what you're getting into.
Why don't we present it to the candidates and then get their feel on that before we change that? We'd be setting ourselves up for greater expenses. But like,
You won't get somebody if they don't like that. That's the problem.
but we can try first.
We could,
Not for that money, you won't, not what he charges us, you won't.
well, sometimes it's not about the money.
I don't think you, not nowadays it is, it's one of-
And we'll get a feel for it.
We'll,
How many
yeah,
applicants.
we'll have also a better idea as we move into our next budget in July. We can compensate for that. Let's see.
You can simply also do compensation is preferred to be instead of will be,
Yeah.
and then let a bidder decide how they want to bid.
I think that's so you
Well. I remember some of the previous ones, there was a flat rate fee for one of them that was similar to Mr. McCahill's. It has been a while since I went back and looked at that, but, and then there were some where they had like extra fees for if they had to use their assistant and that kind of thing, so.
How does Port St. Joe handle that? Would there be the same thing? It would be a flat fee?
That's what they pay me. Same one as you pay me here.
All right, so what do y'all think?
But I'm the one that originated that whole thing. I've never heard of the city attorney ever doing that before.
That's good. You might as well ask for it. I mean, if we get it, that's great.
And if we don't get anyone to respond, you re-advertise and change it.
What if they bring up as an issue and a concern, and then we can further
Well,
discuss it?
if I remember his contract, it does say that there possibly be extra fees for litigation and that kind of thing, so
Not
it's not.
fees, just costs. And I, meaning if there was a deposition, you know, court reporter, filing fee, it had nothing to do with attorney's fees.
Does not include litigation costs.
Costs, not fees.
Okay, any other discussion? Mr. Hubbard's gonna put this out for RFP.
Do you need a motion to do that?
Yeah, I think we should.
Okay,
I would make a motion to put out for bid the city attorney RFP with a 4-week turnaround time with responses to feedback.
all right, Tammy, call the roll.
Okay. Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Riley?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Okay, thank you. Discussion, gonna get back to it
You're welcome.
first. We got a couple more meetings with us.
Apparently, yes.
Okay, so moving on to, Grayson Company contract. I received, the printout showing what the city's paying for this contractor, to pick up yard debris. And there's some issues that I'm looking at. First off, the issue is the contract was done in 2018. Well, first contract was 2017. 17, I believe. Let's go back and look, I didn't read, but it had been in place for a while, maybe in the early 2000s. Then they re-upped it in 2018 because the storm was coming. And so now I think that we need to look at this contract to see if we want to continue. In fact, Mr. Baber and I had a discussion about this when I first came on. And he was like, I don't know if you want to continue this contract. And I think it just kind of like got dropped in the shuffle of everything that's going on. On average, the way I average it out, it was like we're paying, I had that with me. I think we're paying an average of over $2,000, $2,000 to $3,000 a month. If you average all of it out, might have been slightly more than that. But they don't bill, they send the invoices like sometimes at 2 months, sometimes at 3 months, sometimes at 5 months, just all different. So, you know, one time there was like a 4 or 5 month, and it was $35,000. So that caught my attention. So I don't know that we have that much yard debris here. A recommendation may be that we have certain times of the year that we have a yard debris pickup. Maybe we can do it in-house. We do have Wednesdays, I think, that are garbage truck people a lot of times have to find other things to do. So if anybody have any suggestions?
It's been suggested to me that this whole contract seems out of date, that it's more related to, you know, the post-Michael days. You know, you're saying it's $2,000 to $3,000 a month. Oftentimes people are witnessing the truck come by and there's not a lot to be picked up right now. And maybe another possible option would be if the city employees could possibly pick up, maybe every couple of weeks go to the city and pick up. Maybe they could place it in the property behind the public works. And then the company, the Garrison Company, the KK Storm Company could maybe come once a month to collect it. And then that way they could still, you know, do whatever they do with it, where they end up turning it into, what do they turn it into? Mulch is what I'm looking for. So, you know, but that could be a way to save, because if possibly, you know, say I'm going to say we'd have to check with Tommy, you know, how busy the guys are. They don't pick up trash on Wednesday. So would that be a possibility that they could go throughout the city and pick up? Usually it's just, you know, some leaves, a few branches. It's light things. They could pick it up in the pickup trucks, bring it to that central location behind the public work building, and then KK could pick it up once a month.
But
Turn it to the mulch, and we can have that mulch.
But we're paying KK cubic yards, so that's not saving us anything, right? So we pay by cubic yard. So whether they pick it up or pick it up here, they're charging us cubic yard.
So I asked Tommy how was that, I had a question, because when you think about the FEMA pickup that we had with the KK Storm, you know, they had to take pictures, they had to, you know, have it checked, double checked and triple checked so FEMA would pay for it. And there's some that FEMA did not pay for. Okay? So with Garrison, it just seems like a lot of money we're spending for yard debris. And I just don't see that much yard debris in the city. Yes, ma'am.
We used to routinely pick up the yard debris. The city did on Wednesdays. So.
And we're perpetually behind, and that's why they did this contract.
Was that when the city also had a boom truck, a grapple truck?
No, they didn't actually have that. They actually didn't pitch for it.
It was, yeah,
And what little I've seen picked up, that's what they basically could have picked up these little piles with. And they're saying some of these things were 60 yards, I seen 80 yards, I seen 130 yards. I mean, they were just different amounts of yardage. I couldn't imagine seeing that much in this city. I just haven't seen it. Not since the storm, not since we cleaned up. Yes, sir.
Tim King, Kathy Link.
Most of the debris, because I watched that, most of the debris actually is coming from lawn services. And I don't know if they're in touch with this crew that picks it up, because some of them only put it out the night before. So it's not right. And we should not be picking up for any lawn service. That they should take that to the dump themselves.
That's true. Yes, Lisa.
Lisa feels like deja vu.
Yeah, I know, it really does. Lisa Logan, Mexico Beach. We used to, oh good grief, don't get old, y'all. Thought just right out of my mind. It had to do with what you were saying.
But the company's putting it out.
Shoot.
I've been there.
Yes, the lawn, thank you, the lawn companies. We spent a long time fussing with that. Adrian's saying, yeah, we did, about lawn companies dumping their debris on the side of the road.
Mm-hmm.
Do we still have on the books the fact that the lawn companies are required to haul off their own debris? Is that still on the books? Because it was.
But wasn't there a gray area that residential could be dumped and commercial had to be hauled?
Yes,
That was part of it too.
yes, but it was clear that the commercial lawn services were not allowed to put it on the side of the road for our service to pick up, because then we were paying to get rid of that. So that needs to be looked at. That's still on the books.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, one quick thing too, like on 15th Street, that development subdivision over there, they had all their trees trimmed at one time, and all the piles were in there. So somebody was getting paid to do that job. They should have hauled them off. But again, we're paying for it. They used to tell us to put it in bags and set it next to the road. That's what we were told.
That's when the city did it.
Yeah.
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 And I wouldn't find that would be a bad idea. And there's, in some places, they get them to buy special bags.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how they finance the pickup of debris. Yes.
Rock Creek, MB, you're gonna have to do something. I mean, I mow my grass.
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do with 55-gallon containers of grass? You don't pick them up with the garbage truck. And these people, I mean, I can't put it in the bag because they won't pick it up. It's gotta be yard sitting there, so you pile up your grass in front of your house and take. You're gonna have to do something. You can't just do away with it. I realize you don't have the giant trees and everything else. It's mostly palm trees and stuff like that. But there are people that mow their grass on a weekly basis, and what are you gonna do with this stuff? It's either gonna go in your garbage truck, or it's gonna go on the side of the road, one of the two. I mean, you're gonna have to figure this out. I think you ought to go back and look at this contract and make them give you bills on a monthly basis. And I can tell you right now, I've done stuff, empty lots across the street from me like everybody else does. You put the grass there. Sometimes it's picked up every other week. Sometimes it's just there for 2 months. It's like, there's no rhyme or reason how they do this. So you need to rewrite the contract, have them do it like every 2 weeks, and give you a bill of what they're dumping. And do something besides what you're saying. You didn't get a bill for 5-6 months. That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Get a contract and enforce the damn thing.
This could go out for RFQ.
Is this entered into because the hurricane was 2 days away?
Yes, that one.
This one, there was
But
one
there
before
was one
that.
before that. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was
Seems
like
to
a
be
40.
totally dedicated
This
to like
was-
disaster.
Yeah, this was
not just the
45 days.
regular.
Yeah, this was a 45-day thing until we could get.
This would be called a pre-event contract.
Yeah,
And there's no termination date.
Yeah, there is no date.
I mean, I find that.
it was a 45-day contract. That was-
I don't see that saying.
I talked to Tanya. She's the one that signed it, so I talked to her. She said it was entered in for a 45-day contract.
Yeah, but it doesn't say that on the contract.
I checked the minutes and see if it says that too.
Yeah.
It sounds to me like we need to meet with these people. You know, maybe we can invite them to the other special meeting, since this is something else that's coming up. And we have a discussion with them, tell them what we're not happy with, and come up with some suggestions, and just, rewrite the whole contract.
Well,
This contract is
I think it,
outdated.
I think we don't, this isn't a renewable contract, but this one definitely wasn't because it was pre-disaster. But, and the other one is much older than this one, and, I would think it would need to go out for RFP. If you're gonna hire somebody for this, that way you get competitive bidding. Or we just do a contract, maybe just do somebody every monthly, one time a month, at a flat fee.
This is just a carryover from the storm. That's all.
Yeah, all that is,
Yeah.
that's not even the correct contract.
Well, what about,
Do you have, is there another contract
Yeah, it's
that's still in place?
actually.
I don't think there's a termination on that one either.
I don't think it was a termination.
Because this one's just dealing with basically disaster. You need a contract that deals with regular pickup of residential yard debris.
And if we're not gonna pick it up, we need to get an RFQ out and see if somebody can bid it. I think these guys are a little bit big for us right now.
but, on the other hand, would it still be an option to maybe have our city employees possibly pick it up, bring it to one location, and then have a company pick it up from there? That seems like that would be a big savings.
Well, it might be a big savings. Something else it would do, it would let us know really how much yard debris we are picking up. Because even though Tommy Davis told me that they take a picture of it, and, I've been told that there's been false bottoms in these trucks and all kinds of stuff. I've been told that they overcharged and saying they got more than what they actually do. And, I don't know anything about it other than what I hear, but I really would think that there's a way that we can save money here because the actual, looking at the actual yardage and the actual cost, I can't see that here in our city.
What are our surrounding cities doing? Do we know?
I know Callaway, they pick up their own. But other than that, I've not spoken to anybody about this.
Is that an option for us, Chris?
If we spend the money on a truck and the employees, I mean, it's an option, it'd be an expensive option.
That truck is worse than the sub truck we're gonna get, vacuum truck. It's very,
What does Fort St. Joe do?
Port St. Joe has a waste contract with BCC, and as part of the contract we have with them, every couple weeks or so, they come around, and you have to have a 4x4 thing, they'll pick up the yard debris. It's written into the contract with our waste provider.
I say we need to do something with this, whether it's bring it in city, which we pay for employees now, and they have to come on Wednesdays, they don't really have a lot to do. That would be something we could discuss with Tommy and get the employees and Tommy's feedback on that.
Let me give you my feedback on it, can I?
Sure.
It's a bad idea because right now, I don't know what employees told you that they didn't have anything to do on Wednesdays because I promise you I've got a list of things for them to do. But number two, they might not have anything going on like they do in the middle of summer, but summer's right around the corner, and these guys aren't going to be free on Wednesdays to pick up the yard debris like you're saying. So, I mean, it's just counting on them to have free times on Wednesday runs out here at spring break. And continues on for the next 5 months or so. They're not going to have any free time on Wednesdays. In fact, I mean, they're going to be working on weekends and holidays and everything else. So I wouldn't put a whole lot of faith in that our employees would be able to handle this in-house. Secondly, if you do decide to go in-house, because you all make the decisions, if we pick it up off the streets and we're using our garbage trucks and then you're bringing it back here and dumping it in the back, then not only are you getting the debris and the limbs and everything that they just picked up, but you're also getting a lot of smelly nastiness out of those garbage trucks that are being dumped on the ground here inside the public works area. And that's going to create issues amongst itself. So this contract does need to go out for bids, for one, because of the Emergency Services Aspect of it. FEMA wants us to go out for bids and re-sign contracts every 5 years. It needs to go out definitely for that reason. Now, if the council wants to hire an outside company, I would make it a 2-part contract where part of the contract would be emergency services, after a hurricane. Another part would be the pickup like we're talking about right now on the yard debris. But it does definitely need to go out
for bids because of FEMA and their requirements.
We could do two separate though.
Yes.
I would appreciate that.
Yeah, I think do them separate. You, this one has the expertise of the storm side of it. You do a contract with them and then you do one separate for,
Well, if we could
And
put it
city
up for RFQ, then we have to look at all the bids that come in.
You might want to just let the contract for the disaster relief. I mean, look at the prices on it. Or you gotta go out via FEMA every 5 years. So these prices are 5 years old.
Yeah. He has a dump area on his own property, so he controls the prices down, like, using the dump in Gulf County.
Do we want to entertain a motion for, instructing Chris to put this out for RFQ?
So if we make a motion to put it out for the RFQ, the same company could also apply. Is that correct?
Yes.
So we make a motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we put out an RFQ, for debris pickup. How else do y'all want to express
I might want to separate it,
Separate.
two different things. Debris, residential debris pickup and
Pre-event
disaster.
disaster.
So we'll make a motion to put out for RFQs for disaster collection and regular collection of debris.
correct.
Y'all have a second? Okay, got a first and second.
I'm
Table.
sorry, I didn't hear the second.
Mr. Wolf?
Yes.
Okay, Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton,
Yes?
Mr. Wolf.
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Willie.
Yes.
All right, thank you. All right, next is, city administrator 6-month review. It's come up on his 6-month review. Everybody got a packet in, evaluation in their packet. How do we normally do these reviews? I've only put a couple of them online, so it's just,
Clint, how do we?
I know Doug put the evaluations in the mailboxes,
Mhm.
and each council member would fill it out and they came to him in his office and reviewed the evaluation one-on-one with the administrator.
That's what.
I remember doing that. It's the same.
Not the same form.
Pretty close. No?
Is it the previous form that's been used?
Like Doug just wrote. What kind, is this the same?
It is the same one.
It is the same?
so does anybody have any questions for Chris that y'all want to ask now? Any comments?
When do we want to do it? Is that Will?
Yeah, just have it done by when?
We should probably get a deadline.
Yeah.
What works for you, Chris?
And Doug gave us, I think, a month last time, it was like 60 days, that's, that was the last one, but I don't have much time.
What date did you start on? August
21st.
21st? I think it's 22nd. 21st.
It's already passed. So,
I would also suggest that if we're gonna go one-on-one with Chris, that we have another witness as well, such as Tammy, the city clerk.
She's a good.
Her evaluation's coming up too.
Her who?
Her,
You want to have it done by the 15th, is that all right? We're going to take 30 days. We're gonna get it.
Well,
I think I can.
15.
that's the deadline, okay. And so we meet individually and set up a schedule with you, Chris, because I think you'd like us to do it.
Yeah, it's fine.
Put me down for tomorrow.
Do y'all want to come back to the table with this on the 19th?
Can we come back here? We never have before.
Yeah. Is it something you do in public? I think you guys just tell him what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong,
And then on the file,
Yeah.
no.
and mark down whether it's good or bad. Put it in the file. I just don't. Reason why you bring it here is we want to discuss terminating. Other than that,
Well, we wouldn't know what each other's evaluation of Chris is.
we could look at some of it. It's going into his file.
How is that normally handled, Ken?
I know with that, we didn't bring it to the table, it was not brought to the table, it was just discussed.
But did the city
One-on-one.
council, later read each person's evaluation?
They're public record, anybody agree?
Okay.
So we're gonna have this, in this file on the 15th. Project list. Chris?
On the project list, you can see the changes. I've highlighted them in red from the previous month. I thought that would be an easier way for the council to see if there was any progress or any changes made from last month to this month. I will point out on the 7th Street bathrooms, that March 9th date is incorrect. I typed that in there earlier, but the bid openings will be March the 22nd.
Pretty much covered most of this.
Most of this was, Tina went through it pretty good.
And, I did ask Chris earlier about the, 15th Street Bridge, and he told me that it was in, the hands of the engineer right now. Come back to engineering. And what was that amount? Do you remember that amount that was appropriated for that bridge?
$350,000.
I hate to get it cheap. You got all the city stormwater coming in.
We got the worst of it taken care of.
All right, so next on our agenda is citizens' comments. You can step to the podium, state your name and city, and, give your comments.
Not pretty, Kennedy. But hate to see you leave. I appreciate last year working with you at planning and zoning board.
Thank
It
you.
was maybe first time doing something like that, so you helped out and we had some interesting discussions.
Sure did.
And secondly, I want to thank him and his fire department guys for, like they said before, I was there all day at the gumbo thing, and the parking was like miles away. So them guys had to do some walking. How far out was that parking at? They were right on 98, way down.
We got them just as far as 98 and put them out on 44th Street. It
All the
was
way out.
literally the last sort of 30 minutes of people coming before people started to leave. We just spilled out of the ramp area.
I mean, the city guys did a pretty good job helping out, and like I said, Dan, I appreciate that. The other thing I noticed, under the Palms Park, you got the pavilion up, you got picnic tables there. Any idea of maybe putting a barbecue grill in or something?
Plan.
Okay, and around it, is that gonna be cleaned up? I mean, you sit there and you look over to the right, you got that garbage house, the roof fell in on it for 4 years. The guy came and put tar paper over it. The camper's been sitting there since before the hurricane.
We contacted them after the last
This stuff- I mean, I can sit in my house and look at blue tarps down the street, plywood over windows on other houses. They're all second homes. These people ain't broke. They own other property, they own other thing. They don't live here and they don't care because it's not in their face. It's time to start cleaning this crap up. And I'm gonna keep beating on you because this is ridiculous. I don't wanna hear it takes 10 years. That's bull crap. It don't take 10 years. These people don't live here. They got money. They got other property here. They can either sell crap or fix it. Enough is enough. You guys need to start enforcing your codes. I mean, I look at the planning and zoning board. I go through, read everything. There's so much crap that's not being enforced, but yet you're supposed to go to planning and zoning board and enforce everything. Do something or get rid of your damn codes. One of the two. Thank you.
Thank you, Rob. Glad you brought that up because I have had several people contact me and by email, and I copied Chris on it. I think we have a big code issue. Getting codes enforced. I had one this week talked about their rodents, and she's like, I've been told that like some of them are protected. She said, but if it's a rodent, it's under my house, it's not protected. So I think it's important for us to start enforcing our codes. If I'm with Rob, and I've said this when I was on Platinum, if we're not going to go by the code, why is it in our code? Why? And secondly, is if it's a code, we enforce it. We enforce it for everyone, not pick and choose.
I think something that was called to my attention this past week is 600 Georgia. I mean, if code enforcement is driving up and down the street, how could you not see that? I mean, the picture's there. And you live right up in there too, so you probably have seen it as well. I mean, I don't understand why that's just sitting there, why it hasn't been followed up on. It just seems like the people, the code enforcement crew is going up and down. How could you miss things like that? I mean, it was just really bad.
She knows. And they ride them up. And you got Dan, not taking up another, but just because a house is bad like where Walker is, you can't make these people do nothing. You can't make them. They can violation of a code. What code? The grass too high. They'll come cut it. They're my neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know them, but I'm just
if you have a code, you have to have an enforcement, and you have to have a consequence to that code not being enforced.
Or a special master.
And then we have a special master. And actually, when I first came on, I spoke with our special master, and he's like, I don't make a lot of money off y'all because y'all don't do a lot.
There's been like one hearing.
Yeah.
2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think we have got to, as a council, instruct code enforcement to do the code enforcement job. If there's an issue being able to do that position, then maybe we need to look at that position. We need extra help. I mean, where is it? We need, I really feel like we need in the reports, code enforcement needs to be in here telling us what's going on. How many letters was sent out? What address? Share the addresses. I remember once when I was out there and Al was up here. Al had them bring a list of RVs that were in, parked. And we need to clean up our code. We need to enforce those codes, and we need to enforce them for everyone, not just some. I've always felt that way, and I feel that way today. So, any recommendations of how we want to proceed with making sure we start looking at these codes and start getting them in check?
What are your thoughts, Chris? Because these folks report to you. I mean, how can we get them to follow up on these concerns of the citizens because they're on it?
Okay. I mean, tonight's the first time I've heard of 600 Georgia. I'll look at it, but we'll start enforcing the code. I mean, we do a good job. There's only so much that one person can do, but we'll do that. And I mean, I'd already talked to Clint a couple meetings ago about whether or not we can start cleaning up these properties and put liens on the property. I've talked to Mark Garrison about, if we start needing to demo houses, could we do it? That'll probably have to wait until after we go out for bids now on that. But, I mean, it's working behind the scenes. You don't see any action right now, but it's just something we're doing now. We'll tell the city council that if we go into someone's property, reading articles online where other cities have done this, if we spend taxpayer dollars and go on somebody's property to clean it up because it's an issue, there's no guarantee that we're ever going to get that money back. Most cities see this as, your town may look cleaner, but it's also a waste of money for the citizens. So, I mean, I don't have a problem with cleaning up these properties, but there's no guarantee that we'll ever get that money back, and the council needs to be aware of that as we go into this.
Do you remember when Doug was here, Pier Parkway, or pier, where the pier is. They were cleaning up that
A
property.
couple houses down.
Yeah. Did the city pay for that? Did we get reimbursed for it? Was it a city project?
I think they might have paid for it initially,
Yeah.
and that was collected after.
I don't think
That's
so.
what's
I
in
don't
there.
think so.
That's been home, I don't know.
There's one knocked down.
That's one that just stayed there and stayed there.
Stayed there and stayed there,
I think
yeah.
Doug finally got it took down and see it paid.
One on 15th Street.
But if there should be a lien on that property.
Make that one a special man.
That was the one that was insurance. She kept saying
Yeah.
that, well, I got the lawsuit going, and anyway, we just said it's been 4 or 5 years, we gotta take it down.
I think one of the things we get a complaint from code enforcement all the time is the time that they have and understaffed. Is there a possibility you may want to look at ramping up until we can take care of the problems we need to? Do we need to add another person?
Well, if we could get a report from her, maybe we'd know what she needs and help her out if that's the case. You know, when I was in the office every single day, I didn't see a whole lot of activity outside of the office. So,
Creeds, MD, I'm gonna use up the last of my 3 minutes. I've been beat to death since I lived here. Doug came in here, and I gotta give him credit. He cleaned up a whole bunch of crap that I've been beaten to death for years. That trailer that was down there and other things, he took care of that, the USS Minnow, everything else was sitting there. And he said, I don't know why this stuff wasn't cleaned up because you put on a property tax bill and get it the following year. Am I missing something here? I listen up here, Mr. Smith says, you can't do anything.
Can't make
I
them.
thought why can't you fine them? You have fines. It's in there. You have all this stuff. Do something. Do something, please.
and you know, we can take it to special master, we can go through a judicial
I know. Do it.
proceedings, and they have to pay even for the special magistrate to do the proceedings. Yes, sir.
Yeah, you know, it is very selective on what's enforced. I've sent a lot of emails, and I waited months for something to be done. And I used to come up here and sit, and I'd see how many times the code enforcement officer left the office. Lunchtime. That's about it. You know. But, and I'll tell you that there's things that, like the guy on Georgia, he's got the nerve to go on the internet and complain that people are throwing stuff in his dumpster. You know? I mean, you gotta look at this big trash pile sitting there. The house really needs to be demolished. I mean, the house should be condemned. But, and also, you know, there's people, like I said, being selective on how you enforce things. You know, I remember travel trailers, right? You know the travel trailer I'm talking about. It just came back for the season. It's all opened up, all hooked up again. Looks like Gulf County, you know. And the property owner told our mayor, wasn't Al Cathy the mayor? That's what he said. And so, you know, these people think that they can get away with things. I don't get it. That one property has 3 residents on it. 3 residents on that property. And I can tell you people that have sheds, I know because I was a plumbing contractor, I put plumbing in people's sheds here and they rent them out.
Gary?
You know, Mr. Chris, this 600 Georgia Avenue, that house, there's an old septic tank that's caved in the front. Tommy went out and put some barricade tape around it. I'm afraid there's kids and everything coming there, use that part and take shortcuts. It's a health hazard, it's a hazard. That man needs to fix it, because it's a sinkhole, it's filling right on top of the septic tank.
Okay.
That is the biggest issue. Now, the house is a piece of crap. But that's, when that ground caved in, it was like, oh no.
You know, something that's a threat to the health and safety and welfare of the community. The city does have the power to do something.
Yeah.
I've ordered the whole block of houses torn down. Joe, when I was the special magistrate for 15 years in Port St. Joe. We have a different system here where she goes out and she issues the violation. It's a little bit different than where we have there is he sends a notice of violation to the code enforcement officer. They don't respond. Then you go to the special magistrate. And he sets what the thing is. Here, our code enforcement officer sets what the penalty is. And then if they want to appeal, it goes to the special magistrate. But what generally happens is if you go do that, something's a threat. You got to take care of it. Money, whatever. You take care of it, and then you have to look at the situation. If the house doesn't have a mortgage on it or anything, you have a lien, you can foreclose on the mortgage, sell the property on the courthouse steps, and get paid back. You have to do what you have to do. If something is a threat to the health, safety, and welfare of the community.
So how are we gonna, well, again, just while we're on code enforcement, it's come to my attention that there's people complaining about signs again. Well, what can we do to prevent this big to-do over signs this election session? I have a recommendation that we allow them on our right-of-way, the easement part of the right-of-ways, because they're removable. Just election signs, and not only in front of the house, not on empty lots, not on corners or anything like that. Is that a possibility? Because I'm getting this, well, if I put it back, then nobody's gonna see it anyway. So I just don't want a lot of hoopla about signs. It's just ridiculous. But we do have, like I told them, we have a sign ordinance. Unless the council comes and says, hey, we're gonna give a waiver or an exception for this amount of time, then that's our ordinance, and then what signs will be picked up.
Deja vu.
I know.
Oh, yeah. Lisa, look. Just don't get into the sign mess, but, because that was just a complete disaster. But I had to read the sign ordinance to people last night that I was talking to. The sign ordinance for political signs is laid out very clearly. There's not a lot. It's just a couple of sentences. There's no shady area to it. It's in the LDR around page 85, and that's it. Do what's in the LDR.
So here we go with code enforcement again.
Yes.
We just went through the sign thing about the recall, and that was a total nightmare. Mr. Hubbard stretched that out. Well, I'm gonna give them this much time to get it done. I'm gonna do this. We cannot be doing that. We've got to stay within our ordinance or change our ordinance.
It's not an ordinance, it's in the LDR.
Or our land development code. Yeah. So,
The complaints that I received today was because we were enforcing the ordinance. Code enforcement was out there enforcing it. It's.
You have an example of that?
Yeah, Rusty Wright, if he's still here.
No, he left.
He's the campaign manager for, Mr. Henderson, yeah, and so I contacted him first thing this morning because we received complaints that his signs were on the right of way.
Yep.
And so
and
an
that's who
action was
called me
taken.
and said,
Okay.
Yeah, so.
what can we do about this? And I'm like, well, Rusty, we can come to the council and we can ask them, but you know what? We have it in our LDR, we have to go by what we got to go by. Unless the council wants to do something different. I know it's gonna be a hard job. But it doesn't take that many hours to go over 3 square miles and make sure ordinances are being followed. Whether it's signed, which I also talked to him also about, I've talked to contractors who have their signs up on empty lots and they're not building within our LDR within the 60 days. They're not to have a sign up and they are not removing them to this day. And I talked to them weeks ago. So we have to take the bull by the horns, I guess, and make sure this starts getting done the right way.
one of the problems with the contractor signs is that the way our LDR reads is that they, can put the sign up within 60 days before construction. Well, something may happen to throw off their construction dates, but whenever we contact them, they say, well, we plan on starting within 60 days. But then a project they're currently working on extends out, and it's.
Well, there's one on 98 on the left-hand side going back toward 8th Street. It's on the left going back, and it's been there for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing being built there. To my knowledge, it at one time was for sale, but I think that's still the case or not. But nothing's being built there. So,
Back on the signs, I have learned through this utility digging as well that a lot of people don't know what the right of way is. So I think that's a lot of our confusion we have on these political signs, that we think our property is our property up to this point when it's not. So I could go either way with it and be more flexible, but I think it needs to be permanent, whatever we change, not just,
Well, the general rule of thumb is, and it's very.
behind the sidewalk.
No, on the streets without sidewalks, the telephone poles are almost always set right at the property line. That's your rule of thumb.
and that's actually what Kathy had told me back during our campaign. You're pretty safe if you set it back behind the telephone pole.
And you also have to remember that city streets are not in the middle of the city's owned property. It's not a right of way of 10 feet on each side on the city streets. On my block of Maryland, it's 14 feet right of way on my side and 6 feet on the other. So you cannot say that the right of way is 10 feet.
So it's pretty much, it's pretty much in Mexico Beach, if you look, because my property's the same way. The front property on Oleander, my property line's in the street.
Yes.
And on my back property on Fortner, there's 20 or so feet of right of way. Because I see where my property posts are. So if that's where your property posts are, that's where your property starts and goes back to your house. And so it needs to go behind your property line, no matter where that might be.
You mean your monument? You mean your monument, your post? What do you?
Your property stakes.
Yeah, line.
So like your lot has 4 stakes on it.
Yeah.
It has to be behind those stakes to be on your property and not on the right of way for easement. So code enforcement.
Yeah, not a new problem. I had
Not a
signs
problem.
taken 2 years ago. We just made it a weekly stop at City Hall to pick one. Next week did it.
Yeah, as long as they're being brought back to City Hall, I think we can advise the people who get their signs fixed at the police check City Hall on a regular basis. And they should not be picked up if they're on private property. They should be picked up if they're on a lot with an empty lot. Do not put them on empty lots. So that's the code. And so we're going to stay with our ordinance. We're going to enforce the code. Until the code or the ordinance is changed. All right. All right, mayor comments, I'm gonna skip mine, I think we've commented on that. Council comments, Linda?
I would like to say, appreciate all the work that the city has done, with the pole barn under the Palms Park. I think that was Tom that put it up. They did a great job. The city employees helped with that. It looks really nice. We now have 4 picnic tables there. I understand they're gonna do some small barbecue grills as well. So I did speak to Sandy about safety concerns and having a water source or a fire extinguisher or something on site, for those. And he said he would check into that.
Before the handicap.
And then also, there is a grant, it's my understanding, for the trees, and so January has worked diligently. I've given her some further information from the Master Gardeners classes that I've taken, so she's coming up with a plan, so that we'll have some really nice trees there as well. And then by the time we get a bathroom in and all that.
No, please.
One day, the real bathroom.
We're gonna get one.
Yes, that's it.
I have something. As the CDC guy for, I guess, another month, I was asked to inform the council and the public that the chamber will be dedicating the playground at Parker Park on Tuesday, March 26th at 11 a.m. And that we hope that all will be able to attend and anyone from the public is welcome. That is the dedication of the playground at Parker Park, Tuesday, March 26th at 11 a.m.
I'm good, thank you.
All right, good meeting, staff, city attorney,
I don't have anything there.
and city administrator.
One thing that needs to be mentioned is that our new dredge has had some mechanical issues. There's some comments on Facebook that we hadn't been dredging, and we dredged 2 weeks ago a lot. We dredged every day that week because Troy was on vacation last week and wasn't going to be able to dredge. We haven't been able to go out this week yet because the water's been too rough, but as soon as the water calms down, we'll be out there dredging. And the company that built the dredge for us is supposed to be here tomorrow to take care of the new dredge and get it operating if possible.
And one more thing too about the dredge. And I know Troy does the dredging, but is there anybody in our staff that's cross-trained to do that?
Oh, yeah,
In case of his
yeah.
absence?
Yeah, Nick does the dredging also.
Okay.
Is that dredge under any kind of warranty? We just got it.
Yeah, it's under warranty.
Anything else? Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.